What's up? So this is going to be part 3 of the CD tier list review. I apologize for the week delay. Let's just say I took spring break off, but I'm pretty sure that even if I did take spring break off, I missed a week. So oops. I'm in my room doing this now. I'm not in the studio room because I want to try and get it out tomorrow. And look, I'm even a little bit more professional now because look, I got my script in hand now. So what I'll do in absence of my table, my display table, I'll just put the album cover right here in this wonderful nice spot for everyone to see. I'll still show you the physical copy to show you that, you know, I have this album, but you know, well, I don't want to just be holding it up the entire time. But yeah. So here's where everything has been left off since last time, and let's move on to the next time. So this is Here Comes a Cowboy by Mac DeMarco. Here Comes a Cowboy is Mac DeMarco's 4th studio album released in 2019, and Mac DeMarco takes what you might have thought was his style in previous albums and, you know, just throws it out the window with a much slower pace and not really any focus to, you know, what's the driving point behind this. Many fans were divided on this album due to its very slow pace, but I still think it's a really good listen. Not too long ago, track number 8 on Here Comes a Cowboy, Heart to Heart, was trending, so that got some more fans to, you know, kind of listen to Mac DeMarco, see what he's all about, and that's good and all, but, you know, he's got more than just one song. TikTok. You know, I love Mac DeMarco, and while this album is a good listen, there's definitely some better Mac. Solid B tier. This is I Know by Nigo. And man, let me just tell you, this album blows, okay? I'm not even gonna need the script for this one because I know what I want to say, man. You wanna know why I got this album? I'll be completely honest with you on the only reason I picked up this album, okay? Is for one song and one song only, and it wasn't even on the CD release. On digitally, when it was released on streaming platforms, you know, they did put the song on the album, but on the CD pressings, they didn't release it. The song in question I'm talking about is Come On Let's Go by Tyler, the Creator. Call me dumb for wanting to buy an album for one song only, but if you've ever heard Come On Let's Go, it's a great song. I love that song. It gets me hyped up. I bought I Know for the reason that, you know, I'll be able to listen to this on the CD, and it wasn't even on there, dude. Like, it was disappointing to say the least, and the album isn't even all that. Like, you know, there's a lot of big name people on there, but it's nothing that'll blow me away. This is a definite D tier. In 1994, one man would encompass what living day to day in inner city New York was like and would revive the New York rap scene while also becoming the landmark project of East Coast rap. Known by his stage name, Nas, he would drop Illmatic, and holy cow, its legacy and influence is still present to this day. I mean, hell, it is considerably one of the greatest rap albums of all time. With the album only being 10 tracks long, spanning about 40 minutes, there is no room for disappointment here whatsoever. It's rare to find an album that someone can just truthfully and honestly say, you know, I loved every track, and I did. And I'm sure many other people will have the same opinion as me that, you know, there is no breaks on this album whatsoever. Many music critics and publications have Illmatic as one of the greatest hip-hop albums ever released. And that's a title that just isn't handed out to anyone, you know. That's just not, you're not giving away that candy. A lyrical genius with an amazing flow followed by the beats of an SP1200 made this album an all-time classic. And, you know, if you haven't ever heard Illmatic, give it a listen. Definite S tier. Known by their stage names of Vinnie Paz, Stoop the Enemy of Mankind, the two high school friends would create a group known as Jedi Mind Tricks. With 25 years in the game and 11 released albums, Jedi Mind have certainly been a staple in the Philadelphia underground rap scene. This album that I have here is a compilation album of, you know, their best hits. This is very best of Jedi Mind Tricks. You know, some of my personal favorites here in the album are Retaliation, Against, and Blood Runs Cold. These are great songs, and you know, they're my favorite for a reason. You know, give them a listen. If you ever need a hype up song, then play Retaliation. Every time I put it on, I feel like a boxer walking up to a ring for a huge fight. It's got that type of vibe to it. I really like to gatekeep Jedi Mind, even though it's not like they're, you know, unknown. But you know, not everyone knows who these guys are, and I think everyone should give them a listen. But it's fun to keep them secret a little bit. The beats are funky and the rhymes are catchy as hell. For me, Jedi Mind Tricks gets a definite A tier. This is Jimi Hendrix at Woodstock. So in 1969, this small little music festival was happening in the state of New York, and it got a good amount of people to show up. They might have taken some stuff that they shouldn't have and enjoyed an entirely separate trip than the one they took to New York. What I'm talking about is Woodstock 69, and I'll more specifically be talking about the man who closed out the festival, the legendary Jimi Hendrix. Jimi Hendrix, for those who don't know, was undoubtedly the greatest ever electric guitarist the world has ever seen. The way he could just improvise entire songs if needed with his guitar is something that many have tried to replicate, but never fully attained the same level of skill that Jimi Hendrix was able to create. Many people will list that the performance of the Star Spangled Banner by Hendrix during this performance was probably one of the greatest live acts of the 21st century. And they have good reason to say that. So now, this is a live album, and live albums aren't my favorite, but this legendary set from 1969 is undoubtedly probably one of the best live performances ever. So I'm gonna cut it some slack on the reason it's a live album. Long live Hendrix. This gets an A tier. This is Kill 'Em All by Metallica. In 1983, the debut album of one of the most commercially successful bands would be released to the public. The public will forever know the name Metallica. I hope you've heard of Metallica. The band's been around for about 40 years now, and they're still popular to this day for not only their music, but the image that they brought. If you have ever walked into a Hot Topic or a Spencer's or any store ever, you probably would have seen a Metallica tee that they have for sale. You know, dark imagery, shocking imagery, but very cool imagery. Kill 'Em All is a great introduction to what Metallica was at the time, and an even better preview to what they would become. Kill 'Em All would go on to sell 4.5 million copies in the United States, going platinum 3 times, and would impress many music critics with its heaviness, songwriting, and overall impression it left for the band, for it only being their debut album. I really like Metallica. You know, I still listen to them occasionally, not as much as I used to probably in my middle school, early freshman days. You know, that was probably all I listened to, but Metallica's good. They're great, man. Kill 'Em All is a great album, but the later works from Metallica would overshadow what they made in their debut. But for me, it's a solid B tier. This is 6 Feet Under the Moon by King Krule. 6 Feet Under the Moon is King Krule's second album, and the album consists of 14 songs and spans for almost an hour. The best way to describe King Krule for those who have never heard of him, King Krule's sound is a mixed bag of elements that include punk, jazz, hip-hop, dark wave, trip-hop, and post-punk. Krule has this low-toned voice that can also be as sharp and is great to listen to. He tends to use his voice as his biggest instrument, as his style involves very little to no instrumentation, but when there are instruments, they're heavy hidden. I can't decide what's my favorite song on 6 Feet Under the Moon. You know, its opening song, Easy Easy, does an amazing job to welcome you to the album while also catching your attention. You've also got other heavy hitters like Out Getting Ribs and Baby Blue, which, in my opinion, the first time I listened to them, they were like a spiritual experience to them. You know, they had me floating. I'd recommend that you give those 2 songs a listen and really like soak in the music. Don't just put it in the background. Really give the lyrics and the instrument a listen on, you know, I'll Get in Rips and Baby Blue. I think they're great. King Cruel has been around for a while, and it's great to see that, you know, his music is still high ranking, and I still love listening it to this day. And for me, 6 Feet Under the Moon gets an A tier. I lost my flashlight because now I have to read off this script now. This is Liquid Swords by GZA. 2 years after one of the greatest rap albums of all time was dropped, Wu-Tang Clan member GZA would drop his own solo project with another member of Wu-Tang, RZA, making the beats. Liquid Swords would be released in 1995 and would just about cement GZA's legacy as one of the best lyricists of all time. You know how I love a good flow? This man has got a good flow. Many people say that Liquid Swords is one of the best Wu-Tang solo projects of all time, and that's a take I'll agree with. In 2015, Liquid Swords would officially go platinum, selling more than 1 million copies worldwide. GZA and RZA will create an all-time classic that still has relevancy to this day. It's very funny and also impressive to me that you can put any of the songs on Liquid Swords over a fight scene in an old kung fu movie and it would just work perfectly. But if you know anything about Wu-Tang Clan, that's kind of their whole shtick. Some of my favorite tracks include Cold World, Fourth Chamber, and Shadowboxing. Give these songs a listen, man. These are some great tracks. The album's an hour long, so if you've got a free hour, definitely listen to this track. You won't regret it. For me, Liquid Swords is an S tier. This is Vivid by Living Colour. Before I give you my take on this album, let me just tell you a little bit of a backstory of what I'm about to go off of. So, I have a little guilty pleasure, which is watching professional wrestling. And this stems back from me being a little kid, you know, tuning into WWE during its PG era, which is probably the reason I got into it in the first place, although I really don't know what got me started on professional wrestling. But to this day, I'm still watching promotions such as, you know, WWE and AEW, and even a little bit of New Japan, if you know what I'm talking about. But, you know, the mix of athleticism and storytelling is something that I don't think can be replicated anywhere. You know, you're basically just watching a telenovela, but you see guys going through tables. You can't find that anywhere else in the world. You know, right now, this time of year, both WWE and AEW are having, they're about to have their 2 biggest pay-per-views, with WWE having WrestleMania in April and AEW having Double or Nothing in around May, I believe. But let me give you the reason why I picked up this album. So, there's a song on here. It's the first song, Cult of Personality. You might have heard it. It's a pretty good song. One of my favorite wrestlers of all time, a man by the name of Phillip Brooks, but also most known as CM Punk, had this song, Cult of Personality, as his intro music. If you don't know anything about professional wrestling, there's a big stage. There's this huge stage, actually. And whenever a wrestler, you know, he gets his name called, all that, whenever he walks out, you know, he has basically like a little movie, like a montage, basically, of him put on this giant jumbotron, but it's called a Titantron, because, you know, why not? This is a jumbotron. And they have like this montage playing of them on a jumbotron, you know, it just like has pictures of them, videos of them, you know, hidden people, their name, all that. But also, they have music. Now, this music can be anything from intimidation to something that the wrestler just liked at the time. But for CM Punk, his walkout music was Cult of Personality by Living Colour. And during the time that CM Punk had his, you know, big time on the spotlight in WWE in 2011, and even now whenever he switched to AEW, Cult of Personality is a song that will get people screaming and to their feet. And for me, it had the same effect. Now, this album is really good. Don't get me wrong, But I'm gonna be honest with you, the only reason I did pick up this album when I saw it is because I knew it had Cult of Personality on there, and I knew every time I play it up and I would hear that opening guitar riff, which is just great to listen to, I knew I would think about CM Punk and how I love, you know, professional wrestling. You know, I should have ranked this album higher than where it is because, you know, the other songs are great, but, you know, really the only reason I did pick this up was because of one song. But for me, Living Color is going to get a C tier. All right, we're on to the last album of this review, and it's going to be No Pressure by Logic. I was a Logic fan at one point in time. I went to go see him on tour. I was in middle school. As of late, Logic hasn't been good, I'd say. But in his heyday, I believe, you know, with releases such as Bobby Tarantino 1 and 2, The Incredible True Story, I could even say Young Sinatra 4, and his release Under Pressure, not No Pressure, Under Pressure. Under Pressure was so good, but No Pressure. So let me explain how No Pressure was basically released. So Logic had just dropped Confessions of a Dangerous Mind, and that album kind of blowed. There was like 1 or 2 good songs on there, but people were starting to realize that the Logic hype train was starting to slow down, and he might be on his way at an early retirement. But No Pressure dropped, and at first, when I listened to it, I thought it was the bomb. I thought it was great. Now looking back on it, it's like, it's really only kind of tracked to the beats, one of the rhymes, which is quite the opposite of what I think you should really be paying attention to when you're listening to a rap album. You know, I did like Logic a lot in the past, but now I'm not really the biggest Logic fan. I mean, I'm not even really that much of a Logic fan anymore. You know, if I could put something in his glory days on, yeah, I'll think it's pretty good, but anything new, like he just released a new album, I think it was called College Days, something like that. It's not bad, but it's not the best Logic at all. For me, No Pressure is gonna get a D tier. And that's it. Next week I'll have the next 10 out, and you know, we'll go from there. Now I gotta put my shirts back up because this is where I hang some of my clothes. I had to take them down. That's better. That's better. Oh yeah. Yeah. Paid 40 bucks for this thing, but it's pretty dope. And I forgot how much I paid for the Sheffield jersey, but that's also pretty dope. God damn it. That wasn't scripted.